This episode is going to be about the things that I wish I knew when starting my business. Welcome to the Photography Business Mastery for Moms podcast. This podcast is designed specifically for moms who are passionate about photography and entrepreneurship. If you're a mom with a photography business, striving to achieve balance between growing your business and spending quality time with your family, you're in the right place. In each episode, we delve into the strategies, tips, and insights tailored to help you thrive in both your professional and personal life. From marketing techniques to time management hacks, we provide tangible information to help you scale your photography business while prioritizing your family. Join us as we explore how to navigate the unique challenges and joys of being a mompreneur in the photography industry. Let's empower each other to achieve success and fulfillment in both our businesses and families. So when I first started my business in 2013, it was February or March of 2013. I was doing so much for free. And I think it was a great learning experience for myself because then I realized what I did and did not want to do. I did not want to do in-home sessions and like bring studio equipment or backdrops and stuff into a client's home. A lot of times clients had a space that I was able to set up a sheet. Yes, I used a sheet in the very beginning. We all start somewhere and take photos of the kids. But most of the time I did not have that type of area. So I also realized that a lot of people have super high expectations when I'm just starting out and doing things for free. So I learned to really map out what was going to happen when I showed up, what happened afterwards during the session, literally step by step for everything. So that was a great thing to learn when doing these free sessions. Another thing that I learned when doing these free sessions is setting specific expectations and what I can do for them, such as photoshopping things, such as different backdrops, learning that really early. I don't know if I learned it the hard way, but I learned it early doing free stuff because you would think that people would have lower expectations because they know that I'm learning. They know that I'm just trying things out, different poses and things. But I had a client that the child had like just hit his head on the coffee table that morning, and there was already a big like egg and a bruise on his head. And she said, "Oh, you can Photoshop that, right?" And I was like, I could try. And then when I was unable to, because I didn't even have Lightroom or Photoshop yet, she complained. And I said to her, I'm learning how to do this. I don't know how to do it yet. Once I do learn, I'm happy to go back and edit those photos, but these are for free. These are for free. And unfortunately, she was not a returning client. Well, I probably should think fortunately they were not a returning client. The next thing I learned is you don't need all the fancy cameras and lenses and everything when you're starting out. I started out with a Canon T3i. I think they're up to like T7 or T8 now, and a 50 millimeter lens. And it worked great. The 50 millimeter was like $100. It was a 1.8. And it really was learning settings and poses and learning how to use my camera for what I wanted. So getting that bokeh backdrop, getting that deep compression so it's really separated from the subject. So you can really run a business off of a camera and a lens. Right now, I literally run my business with the Canon R6 with a 24-70 lens. That's it. I love the 70-200. I use that for many, many years. But the cost of a 70-200 lens right now is like $4,000. It is just not worth it at this point. I can shoot at 70, bring my client super far away from that backdrop and still get a really creamy, beautiful bokeh backdrop. So Photoshop also has this great setting. You can blur the backdrop too. So I say get yourself a good camera once you learn, once you know you're going to finish continuing this business, and get yourself a good lens. Glass is always really important. When shooting a wedding, I definitely recommend 2 cameras, if not 3. 2 cameras that would be on you. I do recommend a second lens for weddings because you're shooting far, you're shooting close. there's so much movement between weddings. So having a 24-70 and a 70-200, or a 50 and a 135, so that you can get those two different perspectives as well. But I highly recommend that you have a backup camera. Luckily, I've never had to use one, knock on wood, and I still have a backup camera in the house in case this camera breaks. But you never want to be at that point where you drop a camera, you break a lens, accidental or not, we knock into things and you're basically up shit's creek. You don't want to be at that point. So having a backup camera is also going to, I'm very big on like superstitions and jinxing. I'm not like, I don't want to jinx myself and not have my backup camera. Even if I'm going 15 minutes down the road to a local spot, I bring my entire case, extra batteries. I bring so much extra stuff that is not really necessary, but you never know when something is going to happen. The next thing that I regret I didn't start from the very beginning was showing straight out of camera images. Yes, some people cringe at that. But when you set the expectations for your client that safety hands will be removed, the air conditioner will be removed if you're outside, you'll fix that. The skin retouching will be completed out of your favorites, and they know you because they trust you. Remember, know, like, and trust factor. They already know, like, and trust you. You're going to have an easier sale with them as well. It's also going to save you so much time. So when I first started, I was doing shoot and burn, and I was shooting and I was telling them you'll get your photos back within 6 to 8 weeks or something. And I would send them the online gallery within 2, under promise, over deliver. And so many times they would just pick whatever amount was in their package. So I would show them 100 images and they would pick 5 or 10 or 20 or whatever it was. And it was so much time that I wasted that I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. And this is why I switched over to in-person sales. I wasn't completely editing a lot of things with in-person sales, but I would edit like 1 or 2 here and there. Now, being in business for 10 years, I could literally show a client who's sitting right in front of me a gallery that looks very similar to another client's gallery and show them how things will be edited. Know, like, and trust factor is going to get you to that point so that you don't have to edit so much and you can save your time and then spend that time on things that clients are purchasing. So I really wish I did that from the very beginning. When I used to offer weddings, I would have an 8, 10, or 12-hour package. And then I would get to that 8-hour package at the end of the day and say, okay, so we haven't done cake, we haven't done garter, we haven't done flower toss or bouquet toss. Do you want me to stay? And then you have that awkward conversation of, well, it's an extra $100, $200, $300, $400 an hour for me to stay. It was so awkward, and I feel awkward even saying that right now. So I switched over to full day coverage, and it was such a game changer. Setting those expectations for my clients ahead of time. So it was when you get your hair and makeup started. So say everybody shows up at your house at 7 a.m. All the girls are getting their hair and makeup done. Hair and makeup is supposed to start with you at 12. I will show up 30 minutes ahead of time, get everything prepped, do details, do dress, do any brooches, anything that's going in your hair. And then I will get lifestyle of you having your hair and makeup done. Then the rest of the day. So I'm there documenting everything. And I learned this from another photographer who I was second shooting and lead shooting for. And it was such a great experience with those clients too, because then at the end of the day, you are just like friends at the wedding. You're having so much fun with them. You're on the dance floor with them, still shooting, still having fun. But then the last song of the day, it's either a hit or miss moment. It's either they're air guitaring and having so much fun, or they're being thrown up in the air with all their friends and family, or it's like they are exhausted and they are done. And you capture them as they're walking out the venue hand in hand. So I love doing the full day coverage if I was still doing weddings. Now when I do events, I do 2 to 3 hours depending on the type of event. If it's like a birthday party, we'll say about 2 hours. If it goes over, that's okay. But when I'm shooting events, I am putting those expectations out ahead of time. So I also get more of like a timeline, just like a wedding too. Another thing that I wish I knew when starting my business was insurance. This is a little embarrassing. I remember going to a meetup. We have a local group called Speakeasy, and it is photographers and videographers really talking about business and client communication, things like that, so that we can help each other, but also with referrals too. So we used to, pre-pandemic, get together monthly and just talk about topics. And one of those was insurance. And I didn't even realize I need insurance as a business owner. I had no idea. Luckily, this was back in 2013. So I got it very quickly. And when you're first starting out, it's going to be very cheap. It's going to be $300 to $400 a year. So it's a 50, 60 bucks a month. It is worth that so that you get that just in case. You never want to be in that position where you don't have insurance, that you drop your gear or a client sues you. You never want to be in that situation where you're left out in the dark. So having insurance is super, super important. A few things that I will talk about with insurance is gear. So having your gear on your insurance, either high or low deductible, completely up to you, is going to save you in the long run as well. So I have about $6,000 doing this podcast right now. The video camera from the actual camera body and the lens cost almost $6,000. Now, I have separate insurance with Canon as well. I overinsure stuff so much because I don't want to be at that point where something accidentally lapsed or it's not covered by this insurance, but it's covered by something else. So I have insurance from Canon, and I also have this on my business insurance as well. Deductible depends on what you want to pay. I have a $500 deductible. Knock on wood, I've never had to use my business insurance. I've called and asked plenty of questions, and that's why they're there. And the other thing that you should be considering is how much you want to put into your insurance. So say it's like you have 4 bodies, 2 of them are backups. Do you really need insurance on those backup cameras? Probably not. So I don't have backup insurance on the backup stuff. One thing that I think is really important is called errors and omissions. This is something I learned years later from my insurance company. This is not something that was widely publicized when I first started my business and getting insurance, because I really wasn't that photographer that was doing thousands of dollars in sales and having tons of equipment and all of this stuff. Yes, you have an LLC, but people in New Jersey especially can sue whoever they want. So I'm going to read to you exactly what errors and omissions insurance is. This is from my insurance company, and I use the Hartford through USAA. So errors and omissions insurance, also known as E&O insurance, is professional liability insurance, and it helps protect your business from lawsuits that claim you made a mistake in your professional services. This insurance will help cover your court costs or settlements, which can be very expensive for a business, especially a small business like ours. So what does E&O insurance cover? Negligence, errors in services given, omissions, misrepresentation, violation of good faith and fair dealing, and inaccurate advice. So errors in service given is probably, in my opinion, the most important part here. So this is what happens if a card goes corrupt. You lose an entire wedding. You lose a part of a wedding. A client may be really nice to your face and say, I get it. I understand. It's no big deal. And then you end up with a lawsuit because you had an error in your services. Even though it was not something that you did on purpose, it's something that is really important to them and they want their money back, or they could sue you for more. New Jersey, they could sue you for anything these days. So having those errors in services given and the omissions covers your butt. Knock on wood. I have never had to use it. Another thing that will also cover your ass, CYA, cover your ass. I learned that when working in healthcare, you cover your ass, you document everything, is having a camera with two slots. Two slots. One is recording RAW. I do RAW and JPEG because I show online galleries with the JPEG version, especially like Santa, Easter Bunny. We're going through Easter Bunny right now. And the second card, RAW and JPEG. Literally copies exactly one for one. You never want to be in that position where, okay, you thought you downloaded something and you actually did it. Also, this popped in my head as I was saying that. You never want to format a card until the actual photos are given to the client. And the reason why I say that is because there's so many times I see on these Facebook groups, or someone asks me, what do I do? They formatted a card before giving the photos to the client because they thought it was downloaded to their computer or their hard drive. It gives me so much anxiety if I even delete anything off the card. I'm not even kidding you. I will literally hold on to the card. I have Santa from probably 2022 still on a card in the house. I have at least 100 SD cards. They are so cheap at this point, especially Black Friday sales. What was it? 250, a 256 card was like $15 or something. Get yourself some more cards. Put it in a safety container. So-and-so's wedding, so-and-so's wedding. You never want to get to that point where you accidentally format something and it's not saved on your computer, or years later, a bride comes back to you and says, is there any chance you have more photos of grandpa so-and-so? Because unfortunately he passed away and we're just trying to collect as many photos as possible. Knock on wood. I've never had that happen to me before, but I have seen it happen to other photographers. You don't want to be at a point where you don't have those photos. So never format your cards until all of the images are sent to the client, and have errors omission on your insurance. It's a little bit more expensive, but in the long run, if someone's going to sue you for $100,000, it is worth the $1,000 a year to have. Next on what I wish I knew when starting my business was this program called Legal Shield. It's a website that you pay a monthly fee for, and you have legal representation as well. So yes, you have it through your insurance, but a lot of times you can't ask an attorney a question through your insurance. Biggest thing is like contracts. So if you have a contract, that's another thing. Have a contract for all of your services. It can be a general contract, or you can make it very specific to what they, location, wants, needs, all of that. That's a whole nother episode. And that's also regional wise to where you are and your services and what's supposed to be in it. So contracts are hard to kind of talk about unless you're an attorney. So have a good contract. Have a contract that covers your ass and covers the client's ass as well. Legal Shield, I love. It's $50 a month for me in my area. We also have it personally for us. Like I said, I am overinsured with everything. My husband works in heavy construction, so he has a lot of insurance on himself and his job. And if he were to get hurt, he has insurance for being able to be paid, things like that. So Legal Shield we have personally in case something happens, a kid comes over playing with my boys and they get hurt and the family sues me. Legal Shield is there to represent me as an attorney service. I have it for business insurance, and I literally ask them so many questions all the time, and it's so, so helpful. So recently I had to send a cease and desist to a contractor. So what I did was I put in a request so that we could talk about the situation with me and an attorney, and asked questions. Should I send a cease and desist? Should I do this? Well, then they asked me, well, what's going on? What kind of services did they provide for you? Yada, yada, yada. And at that point, we decided a cease and desist to kind of stop the misrepresentation that was happening and the loss of business that was coming from it, so that it would cover our ass in the end. So we sent that cease and desist. It cost me nothing, just the normal $50 a month. I highly recommend this. I've asked questions about coaching. If I am coaching or doing a podcast or doing anything online, should I do this, this, and this? Those are things that are really important to ask with any business, honestly. Also with NDAs, we do online programs all the time. I do online education still to this day. There's an NDA. There are certain things in an NDA that have to be there, and certain things that may be in an NDA from another educator that just don't make any sense. So I actually send all contracts and NDAs to this attorney so that they can determine if it's something that would cover my ass, would be something I can use in my business. There was one NDA that said, like, you can't implement certain things from this course in your business for 2 years. Like, it made no sense at all. There was another course that was like, you have an NDA for indefinitely. Indefinitely. Like, you can't talk about anything in this course, posing, online workshop, anything in the course with anyone ever. Indefinitely. They were like, don't ever take a course from this person. It was crazy when I saw that. So having that ability to be able to just ask questions that I would have to talk to an attorney and pay them hourly services, which can be so expensive. So I highly recommend Legal Shield. I will link them below in our description so that you can look into them for your business as well. 2 more things. Minis. I know minis can be controversial, but I love minis. Minis are a smaller version of marketing for me. I use them either for marketing directly to the client. They are free. Come in, see the studio, check out our services. And a lot of times they will come back for a bigger session throughout the year. Or Santa, we're just doing Easter Bunny right now. It's a low cost, super quick, and they are happy and they come in the future for services as well. Here's the big thing. I just had a client book a full family session with me, and they've been coming to minis for 1.5 years now. It is the know, like, and trust factor with minis that if you can provide a great service and a great outcome for a 5-minute mini session, they are going to have an even more exceptional outcome when it comes to a longer 1-hour family session. So that is also the know, like, and trust factor. They're liking me, they're trusting me, they know me now at this point. So it's easy for them to come in for a bigger session. Minis, though, are mini. They are 5 minutes. Not even joking you. Does that mean that some kids come in and it takes 2 minutes because they've been here for so many years now? They know the drill? Absolutely. First time clients that come in, does it take a little bit longer? Of course it does. But that is the under promise and over deliver factor as well. So there's so many ways to spin minis, and especially with the advertising prices these days, don't even start me on Google ads and Facebook ads. They're ridiculously expensive. And a lot of times you don't get to the direct clientele that you're looking for. So my ideal clientele is a mother or a soon-to-be mother, or someone who is going to pay for services for photography, right? Typically a mother. And when I did Facebook ads for Santa, it was hitting 65 and plus people. Are you kidding me? Why am I advertising, even though I put in 25 to 45-year-old females? Why is it hitting 65 and plus? So that ad was canceled. So having a mini where they can come in for free, check out our services, see if they like it, they like the studio. If they've never done a photo shoot before, they see the wall art on the walls, they see everything that we do. And we give them a gift certificate to come back. So it's marketing. Either spend your money marketing with ads or have them come in and spend 2 or 3 hours of my time. I would rather spend my time with clients, getting them to know, like, and trust me. Last but not least is the book Profit First. I truly wish I read that from the very beginning. I recommend it to all of my students. It is so important that you separate all of your finances. And you could have $30,000 in your business bank account, but it looks like less. And it also makes you spend less as well. I'm a big proponent of that because if I see money in there, I have a problem and I will spend it. So for myself, I think it was the last podcast or 2 podcasts ago, we talked about the different types of bank accounts that I have. Typically, I have 8 to 9 at a time. You have your general, everything coming in. You move everything from your general out to these different other bank accounts. I'm with a local small bank, Cornerstone Bank in New Jersey. So their accounts are free. I know that some people, you have to have like a minimum of $2,000 in each account. No, it's my money. I want to spend my money. I want to put my money where it needs to be, especially with like Santa. That's a big one. Santa, anybody that purchases a time slot for Santa, the money will come in to my main account and then I will put it into Santa minus the taxes. Taxes go into the tax account, sales tax account. So I want everything to stay in the Santa account just in case of emergency. This past year, we had 3 Santas altogether. One, unfortunately, lost his wife a month before Santa started all these sessions. So I said to him, if you are not into doing Santa this year and you need a break this year, I will absolutely just refund everybody. It is completely up to you. This is whatever you want to do. Then our second Santa unfortunately lost his wife the day before he was supposed to come in. So again, it's up to you. Whatever, if you want to come in, that's totally fine. If not, I will try and reschedule people or I will cancel. And then after I got off the phone with him, I was like, let me see if one of the other guys are available. And we were able to get the other Santa to come in and cover that shift as well. It all worked out in the end, but literally, I have thousands of dollars in that Santa bank account for that reason. One year I didn't move anything over, and then I also felt like I was working for free. Have you ever gotten like that big deposit from somebody and you spend it or you put it towards albums and things like that, and then you're like working the day of and you're like, oh my God, I literally feel like I'm working for free. I did that for years. The next is a product savings account. Any purchase that comes in, I put that certain cost of goods into that account, which then when I purchase the album or the wall piece or whatever it is, that purchase comes from that account to that lab. Personal income tax. Every month I put a percentage of whatever my sales are into that for savings. Regular savings business account. They will say, have 6 months of savings in your savings account for your business. I cannot have $60,000 just sitting there. So I have a couple $1,000s in case of we're slow season. March is always slow. Do I want to hit and use this? No. Sometimes I have went $1,000 into it. And then what do? I take money from that main account, put it back into the savings account for when we have another slow month. Nanny account. So I have spoken to my accountant that it's okay to put money from my main account into my nanny account to pay through Venmo for the nanny. Now, you can also, as long as they are working in your business, you can payroll them. But with the situation that I have with my nanny, it works out better in everybody's favor that I pay through Venmo, and it works great. In New Jersey and federally, you don't really get a deduction for daycare costs, unfortunately, and it's astronomical. So paying regularly and just paying her contractually works great for us right now. And last but not least, I have a owner's pay account. So that also is with my kids' tuition account. So that percentage I put per session or per month, depending on how the month is going, will go into that account. And then I pay myself directly. You can payroll yourself to make it easier for your taxes. And if you pay into federal taxes, things like that. But I do quarterly federal and income taxes. So there's 2 different ways to do that. Ask your accountant. Another thing that I just thought of, have an accountant. An accountant is so important, not just for your end of the year taxes, if you have questions. So I pay my accountant, I think $850 a year to do our personal and our business taxes. gets the best deductions for us, I highly recommend you do that because it's also going to cover your ass if you get audited because they know your business and how things are allocated and everything. They will be there to represent you as well. So I highly recommend an accountant from the very beginning to help you, even if you're technically losing money. Like my first year, I was like, technically, because of purchasing everything, I was like down $12,000 profit. It happens. That's the first few years of business. Even though you're technically paying yourself as well, there's going to be lost years. But that is why you have an accountant, so that he knows what deductions you can use to be able to profit the most. So that is our podcast for today. Thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you next time. This episode is sponsored by Flowdesk. Flowdesk is the most modern, beautifully branded newsletter system for photographers. Use our affiliate link below for a free trial and 50% off your first year.